So we've talked about this one before, but I was asked about it twice this week. So I thought it would be worth it to kind of do a refresher. Um, Especially since we have a lot of athletes that are first-time competitors. Braden, I know, has a bunch of people in prep right now that are first-time competitors, and then I have a few as well. And even if you're not a first-time competitor, it's always worth refreshing. I feel like every time that I go back to a show the first time, I'm like, okay, what the fuck am I doing here? How does this go? So we're going to be talking about how NPC bodybuilding shows are run. For the most part, pro shows are the same. There are exceptions in both national shows and pro shows where you end up having to do a 2-day peak.
That sucks.
I have had.
those are fun.
Did you do a 2-day peak for nationals?
Nope.
Yeah, you were all in one day.
I would never want to do that.
The men that year went all in one day. The women had to do two.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
that's some, if that ain't
That's some
some
bullshit,
fucking
man.
bullshit, I don't know what is. Yeah, so a 2-day peak is extremely difficult. Essentially, you're asking your body to hold in its driest, fullest, most beautiful shape for 2 days. And for us, it was like almost a full 48 hours because the first day was a morning show and the second day was an evening show. So 0 out of 10 would recommend. If you can avoid a 2-day show at all costs, I would recommend doing that. Otherwise, the majority of shows you are going to have prejudging in the morning and then finals in the evening. Aren't there some Olympia categories that have to do a 2-day peak?
Definitely. I feel like they used to.
I think 212 does.
I think the Open usually does
Open
prejudging the night, the first night, and then the second night.
Open does, and Open is brutal because they're last. Because that's the
it's late when they go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year, I remember because they were in Florida.
California.
No, they were in Florida last year.
Yeah.
And they didn't go on until 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Vegas last year.
No.
And now they're moving it back to Florida.
They're moving. No, they were in Florida last year and they're moving it back. I think it's the other way.
No, they were in Vegas last year because it was only a couple hours from where I live.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We stayed up till like 3 a.m. to watch them.
I feel like we do that every year anyway.
Yeah,
probably. Anyway, so aside from the very specific cases, for the most part, there is going to be a prejudging show and an evening show. In NPC, you have multiple, in the NPC and the IFBB, you have multiple divisions, but in the NPC, you also have multiple classes that you do not have in the IFBB. You have some of them, but not all of them. So we are going to first jump into the divisions that there are. So bikini, figure, fitness, wellness, women's physique, and women's bodybuilding are all of the women's divisions, which is that 5? Bikini, figure, fitness, wellness, women's physique. No, that's 6. Women's bodybuilding. I always forget about fitness. Yeah. And then for men, there is men's physique, classic physique, open bodybuilding. In the IFBB, you have both 212 as well as open. And then in the NPC, you are divided into weight classes for bodybuilding. So you could be a lightweight, a middleweight, a heavyweight. It is always kind of interesting to see like lightweight bodybuilders at national shows, both men and women.
I agree.
It's an interesting category. It's I don't know. It's interesting.
It's almost like they just like the posing, maybe.
Oh, dude, I love the posing of bodybuilding. So I get that for sure.
Too.
Yeah.
But you look at them and they don't look like Braden. They're not like.
Oh, there was in lightweight bodybuilding last year. I think the weight cutoff was for women at nationals. I think the weight cutoff was 125. And I was like, yo, I couldn't even do.
Yeah. The figure competitor.
I couldn't even do lightweight bodybuilding. The lowest I got was barely 129.
Which is hysterical because your feedback was that you were too jacked.
Should have done lightweight bodybuilding.
So it doesn't always make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yes. However, at local shows, there's typically not going to be like a division between for men there's middleweight and then heavy open, super heavies. There's typically more classes for men for bodybuilding, but for women for bodybuilding at a local show, you're typically just going to get bodybuilding. Not enough women enter it usually. Okay, so those are all the classes. I'm sorry, those are all the divisions. Now we're going to break down the classes. So there is in the NPC true novice, novice, open, masters, and teen. The only one that is also in the IFBB is masters, right? Yeah. So true novice and novice, let's get those out of the way. True novice means you've never competed, you've never stepped on a stage. Typically there's only one class per division, so they don't divide you into height classes beyond that. So if you've never stepped on a stage and you want to, I highly recommend anybody who hasn't ever stepped on a stage to do true novice, because it does give you more of like an accurate reading of where you're at relative to other athletes who are at your same experience level.
There's some good athletes that do true novice.
Oh my God, I've
I
seen
think
true
true novice
novice
classes
win
can be
overalls. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
it can be stacked.
I'm hoping that I'm going to have one.
Yeah.
Shawnee, no pressure.
Yeah, they can be stacked, especially because there's no like other like height differentiation.
Right, right.
So you could be competing like as a classic physique athlete myself, like I could be competing against someone 3 inches taller than me.
Did you do true novice last year?
I did true novice,
Yeah.
novice and open.
Yeah.
And I think true novice was like more competitive than novice.
Yeah, I could see that because you don't
Yeah.
have high class. You don't have multiple classes.
Mhm.
So then that leads us to novice. So this means that you could have competed previously, but you've never, in most shows, it's only first place. If you're at a Texas show, it can be first or second. I've seen it be first or second. You've never won your class. So in novice, you can have competed before, but you've never won your class. At the show that I did my very first year, you couldn't have gotten first or second to compete in novice.
So basically you've competed before, but you're not like really good.
Right. Typically these are going to be divided into height classes, but you're going to have half as many open classes as you do novice. So if you are in, let's say, classic physique, there's typically 8 weight classes. For novice, there's more likely to be about 4 for height classes rather. Okay. So then we have masters. These are typically divided into 4 different classes, though they're changing a lot of rules right now, so this may not hold true. And it is 35 plus, 40 plus, 45 plus, and 50s plus. Again, it's going to be show dependent, but this is to level the playing field for competitors who are a bit more seasoned, and or if they got into bodybuilding late in their life, to just give you more of a level playing field to compete against people who are your equals. Though personally, I disagree with 35 plus because 35, you're still in a pretty solid athletic position.
And most of the best physiques that you see tend to be people who are like, have been doing this for like 10 years.
Yeah. You look at the open guys, the majority of them are in their 30s because it takes a long time to put that much tissue on.
Yeah. You see some of these new guys who are like 20, like in their early 20s, and they're just, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like there's some freaks of nature out there, but for the most part, yeah, the big open guys, like Hunter's probably what, like 36?
Hunter? No, he's in his 20s.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Wow, bodybuilding just ages you. Sorry, Hunter.
Braden, I don't know if you're here still, but really quick, can we do a timeout to talk about Logan Guthrie?
Yeah.
IG the Future. If you guys have not LG the Future, if you guys have not checked him out on Instagram, he has the most freakish physique.
It's beautiful.
So beautiful. And he's a really nice dude.
Yeah.
Did he get 12?
He got 12th at his pro debut. Also signed with Axe and Sledge. So I think you have a teammate now.
Yep.
But yeah, super nice dude and insane physique. But that just goes to show you, like, he's still relatively new to this sport, and it takes years to like really accumulate that muscle density that shows up on stage.
And the maturity.
The maturity. Yeah. That's what I mean with the density.
I think our training style, though, definitely speeds up.
Oh, 100% agree. The package that I brought this past year versus the year prior, it was like completely different. And I attribute a large part of that to high volume.
Well, and I'm talking like the high, heavy too, like the high intensity.
Yeah. I like to lift heavy things. We all do. Okay. 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 So, and then teen, obviously that one's pretty self-explanatory. You're a teenager.
But in the NPC, it's 18 mil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? There's no 18 NPC shows.
Braden, have you ever done summer shredding?
No.
Oh man.
Fat first place prize.
Fat payouts, dude.
Yeah, big fat payouts.
So I'm kind of
like maybe just hit it up in like during prep at some point.
If I depending,
it's like 10 grand plus like an Alpha Elite sponsor.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
Crazy.
It's 10 grand. If you are the overall winner for your division, it's 10 grand plus like some massive Alpha Elite gift card, and you get some food sponsorship too. And I'm like, yo, that's a lot of money.
It makes sense why so many people do it, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's like it's
and the stage is usually really pretty from the pictures I've seen.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So once you are put into your classes are then divided up into more classes based on your height. And then for some specific classes, as I was talking about earlier, you also have to make weight. So depending on how popular your division is, so let's see, the most popular ones are going to be bikini, men's physique, classic physique. They all have 8 classes. In a Texas show, there's always going to be 8 classes for all of those. Figure is still, sometimes it's 6.
At the Cup last year, this can happen sometimes. If there are not, in this case, what I was told is there were not a lot of competitors in the taller height classes than mine. In my open class, I was competing with, my class was C. I was competing with people who would have been in class D and E.
They actually,
in the open
did they just bring them on stage at the same time, or
I don't know. But
because they can do that sometimes, like they'll bring them on stage, but they won't.
Well, I got 5th to one of them. Like one of them.
Was that in a novice class or an open class?
Open.
Oh, that's very weird.
Yeah, it was
They're
really
not
weird.
supposed
So
to
I
do
was
that.
competing against dudes that were like 2 inches taller than me and had, 30 pounds on me. It was weird. Yeah.
So anyway, depending on how popular your division is, there's going to be a certain number of classes. Wellness, I'm kind of surprised. I don't know if it's changed in the past few months, but at nationals last year, I believe there were only 4 height classes for wellness. With how popular of a division it's become, that's not a whole lot of opportunity to win your pro card. So hopefully they continue to adjust that and account for that.
They also just adjusted the classic physique weight caps.
Okay, so little conversation time. Gonna slightly close this and open to hearing other people's opinions. Should they implement weight restrictions on women's divisions?
Ooh.
I am a big proponent of no. And here's why.
I agree.
We have, okay, and obviously if you're conditioned enough, unless you're in bikini, you're unlikely to be menstruating while you're at your show. If you're in bikini, it's not required that you get so lean for the most part that you end up for some people, like if you are a naturally lean person and you are a bikini competitor, you're unlikely to lose your cycle. However, if you are that person and you end up having your cycle that week and your weight shoots up 4 pounds, there's literally nothing you can do.
Yep.
I mean, that would really fucking suck. I would not recommend doing that, but
suck.
There's also nothing that you can really do to change that.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I do think that they need to differentiate like figure versus WPD versus bodybuilding a little bit more.
I think that, to play devil's advocate, introducing weight caps for the more muscular divisions would help maintain the look that they're going for.
See, I agree and I don't agree.
So big in a certain weight cap.
I feel like so far though, like if we're talking figure, physique, bodybuilding, I feel like so far they've maintained the look. Like it's just like with the men's divisions, within the divisions, you've got, you know, bigger guys, smaller guys, you know, you've got the shape people, you've got the super like blocky, dense people, you know, like it's kind of the same on the female side too. Like, but for the most part, I think the divisions have been maintained.
Mm-hmm.
So the only like even kind of slight objection I have to that is that for figures, Sydney Gillen won last year. Jessica Reyes-Padilla got second, and then Lolita got third. Jessica Reyes-Padilla, if I were to guess, has like 40 pounds on Sydney.
Yeah.
Like she has a lot of tissue, but I do think that she still has the figure look. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's a really difficult like line to walk because I understand where they're coming from. Like if I were to put Jessica Reyes-Padilla next to Shanique Grant, who was the Miss Olympia several years ago that had those like super freaky proportions, tiny waists. I feel like they would have pretty similar looking physiques, but they both dominate in different categories.
Yep.
So I think it's a little difficult. I hope
like Lee Labrada was going up against Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
And he got third.
Yeah.
And I mean, you see that throughout men's divisions as well. I mean, you know, you got guys like Terrence Ruffin who are on stage at 175 pounds.
But he looks like way more than that.
At the end of the day, it's bodybuilding and it's who looks best on stage.
Shape means more than your weight.
Yeah. It's shape. It's density, it's conditioning, it's
how you present it.
It's everything really except weight.
And that's another thing that I think is worth like mentioning is that what I think a large part of the difference between those two women that I just mentioned came down to is how they present their physiques. Yeah. Jessica presents as a figure competitor and Shanique presents as a women's physique competitor. And they both do it very well. Figure being a little bit softer, a little bit more feminine, and then obviously WPD being a little bit harder and a little more masculine.
I think,
but still very feminine.
If they find a need to bring in weight caps, it would be similar to like the need that they had for weight caps in men's physique. Like,
and
getting back.
That's where I see the argument for it. I mean, because men's physique did get out of control. So,
and that's where a lot of the argument is coming from now. And as somebody who's been like one of those people, I feel like it would kind of help me like better understand where I fit.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was trying to say with keeping divisions, clarity between divisions.
Yeah.
Is I think it would help in that case. But yeah, you know, there's men's physique guys who are bigger than the classic guys. And you're like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting thought.
Yeah. I don't imagine they're going to do it anytime soon.
Oh,
but
I don't think it's anywhere near getting out of control at this point.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So we have all the classes, we have all the divisions. And then as far as an actual show is concerned, you are going to have a prejudging, which is in the morning show. And then you'll have finals, which is the evening show. For bikini, figure, wellness, and classic physique, the athletes will have to prepare a presentation routine. Actually, for all divisions, you have to prepare presentation routine, which is where the athlete will walk on stage, go through a series of poses and transitions that best highlight your strongest poses and points. And then you'll exit the stage, but you'll stand by for immediate comparisons.
Usually like 30 seconds.
Yeah, in the NPC, you don't even get that long.
Oh.
It's 15 to 20 that you're on to off.
Oh, I thought we were told 30.
No, for
Damn.
not for your posing routine.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they shuffle you across that stage really fast.
Yeah, for first time competitors, that's something that you'll see is they're always trying to like push you along somewhere.
Yeah.
And half the time you don't have to be where they tell you need to be for a while, but they'll just like they're like go.
It's a little stressful,
Yeah,
or it can be. Okay, cool. And then for all divisions, judges will bring all of the athletes out from a specific class all at once. And then once on stage, the judges will line the athletes up. Sometimes if they call you out in specific numbers, then they've already been paying attention. This rarely happens. They'll typically call you out and put you up there. If you get called out first, you get first call outs. And then they'll rearrange you. So they'll say, X move to center, X move out, whoever. And then once you've gone through comparisons, and after you've been moved around, you can kind of generally bet that is about where you're going to end up in the evening show. Rarely are they organized enough that they call you out in order of what first call outs are supposed to be, so that the main or whoever first is in first place is in the middle.
Do you want to go over like how they usually do that?
Yeah. So you'll all walk on stage and you will stand on the diagonals. And then from there, they will, like I said, call people's numbers out. So the diagonals are in the back part of the stage. And then in the middle of the stage, there is a taped box. Whoever is in first place is going to be standing in that taped box. And then there will be either there's typically 5 or 6 people in first call outs. Sometimes there can be more if it's a really big show, and sometimes there can be less if they're just really sure about what they want. And then, like I said, they will take you through your mandatories, or they'll just move you immediately. But typically they'll take you through your mandatories, and then once they say thank you, you'll typically be asked to exit the stage, and then second call outs will come out. They'll move you around again, and then they'll say thank you, ask you to exit the stage, so on and so forth, until everybody goes. Okay, during finals, athletes will be on stage a good number of times depending on which division that you're in. So if you are in wellness, bikini, figure, and men's physique, you do not have a posing routine. If you're in classic, bodybuilding, fitness, and women's physique, you do have a posing routine. Does the Texas Pro have fitness? I think it does. I don't know.
That'll be cool.
I want to see it so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, fitness always seems like such a sick division to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Denise Chow's doing it.
Oh, fuck
Sick.
yeah. I saw her outfit this past time. It looks so cool. Okay, cool. So if you're in the first group of divisions that I mentioned that do not have posing routines, the judges will give out the placings, typically starting in 5th position. The head judge will call out the placings. Just prior to this, if you are not in the top 5, they'll bring you out one by one so that you can have a time on stage in finals. I do know a lot of competitors that don't end up coming back to finals if they know that they didn't place, but I think you should, just like out of a respect thing. But starting in 5th place, the head judge will call out the placings. The expediter will guide you to where your place is. You'll all grab hands and take a cool little photo together. If you won your class, you'll remain on stage and you will get a solo photo. So from there, the entire class will exit. The class winner will wait for all of the other classes to be completed, and then you'll get on stage once more for the overall battle. So if you win your class, you then get to go against the other class winners, and if you win that, you are the overall winner. Class winners will be taken through comparisons again and then be moved around. And then same little dance. You'll get called out if you won the overall.
And while you guys are watching shows, or if you're at your show, just to clarify what first, second, third, fourth, and fifth are, or what they look like, is if you're, like Alexa said, if you're in that center box, your center stage, you are in first. Whoever's to the right of that, like we're on the stage, you guys are looking at us.
Sometimes,
right,
sometimes they do the
sometimes
left. Yeah.
Um,
If there's 6 people, they sometimes do left first.
all right, so then you got to pay attention to it. But whoever is right next to first is either second or third. So it could be first and then second and third, or first and then second and third. And then the other side is fourth and then fifth. They kind of do it like that. It like goes over each other.
Yeah, it's zigzags.
Yeah. Because I remember before I like understood any of this, I was just watching people on stage and I was like, I know the guy in the middle is in first, but I don't know anything else.
That guy looks really good.
That guy looks really good, but so does everyone next to him. I don't who's second? I don't know.
Okay, so then for classic bodybuilding, fitness, and women's physique, competitors will prepare and perform a 45 to 60-second posing routine. Athletes will leave the stage after posing from the side that they entered from. If the athlete has already performed the routine in a different class, they will not be called out to perform it for a second time. So if you did your routine for your novice class, you're not going to be called out in open to perform the same thing again. And that's the same thing with the other classes as well for presentation, unless you're in top 5. Okay, so depending on the show, again, some people who run shows only have the top 5 perform their posing routine, and then other shows have everyone perform it. Did you
Only top 5.
Did you do yours?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, I placed in all my classes.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah,
I got to.
Yeah. So they only do
Big
top
show.
5. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually the really big shows where they're like, we got to get this shit done, they'll let the top 5 do.
Yeah. Okay. So same thing here. After that, you will be brought out for comparisons against other people in your class. Typically at this stage, they already have like their decisions made, but your posing routine can 100% change that, which is like why I do think that it's a little bit more fun to be in a division that has a posing routine, because you do have more to hold out for in the finals. So if you did great in your mandatories, but you come on stage and you can't present your posing routine for shit, you're probably going to get docked and not get the original placing that you had. So don't be overly confident if you're in the box and you have a posing routine, but you don't know how to do it.
You should probably know how to do pretty much everything you need to do. Like practice it a lot.
Josh's feedback: you should just know how to do everything that you need to know how to do.
You should just practice this like a
Yeah,
lot.
you should practice it a lot.
All the time.
I got to sit in on a wellness posing class yesterday, and I feel like I got to learn a lot from it. So it was a really good experience.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
You need to practice. You should practice it as if you're going to be doing it naked on stage in front of hundreds of people.
Because that's basically
Pretty much what you're
doing. Basically just gonna be naked on stage in front of a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. You're gonna look really good doing it.
Doesn't always feel that way.
All you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
So that pretty much sums it up. So then from there, if you've done a posing routine and you get top 5, you're going to go through the same little dance. And if you win, then you're going to go against the other class winners and battle it out for the overall. Typically in like the men's classes, which is kind of honestly another petition. This is kind of bullshit. I want to pose off.
Yeah.
Women's physique does or women's bodybuilding definitely has a pose off in the Olympia, but I don't know if the other divisions do.
I don't think they do pose downs.
bullshit.
Yeah. That's
That
fun.
is
It's always fun though.
Not 100%. That is
No.
0%.
That is 0%. That is not
100%.
that is
Oh my God.
0%.
I always feel like Caleb's here when I hear that.
I know, me too.
All right. So do you guys have any questions? Dan, I know you're getting ready to do your first show.
Mm.
Or
We got
Lindsay,
Lindsay and Ethan in here
you have
too.
any
So
questions?
yeah, all people I think who are interested in competing. I think the first time you compete, like I said, you realize the expediters are trying to exactly do that. They're trying to expedite the show. So they'll tell you to like line up and start
Oh my God,
pumping
dude.
up and warming up like
The
way
Adela,
before you actually have to be on stage. And so if you listen to them and you actually go pump up right when they tell you to, you're going to be standing on a hard cement floor.
your legs
trying
are going to
pump
swell.
up. Your legs are going to swell. And then you're going to, by the time you get on stage, you're going to be flat again.
Okay. So the Adela, which is the first show that I did in 2020, when right after COVID happened, I was the first person in my class, in class A, which was kind of weird. They hired me at like 5 foot flat. I was like, that is not true. But anyway, they had me start pumping up literally 45 minutes before, not even pumping up, standing in line 45 minutes before I got on stage. None of the judges were at the table, and they just had me standing there with my freaking mask on, and I could take it off when I was ready to go on stage. But it was, oh my God, it was so terrible. I had no lines in my legs.
You're
was
sitting there in heels.
in heels.
Yeah.
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 And you're already glued. So like you can't sit down because your suit's going to come unglued. And you're glazed. So you can't sit down because then you're going to fuck up your glaze, which is like the oil.
Yeah. That's the other thing. They'll tell you to go get glazed and then pump up. So you go get glazed. If you listen to them, you go get glazed and then you can't sit down and you can't touch anything basically.
Yeah.
And then you're getting pumped up and you're just sticky and swelling and like
get glazed at the last possible second. And if you are a lady who wears heels, I highly recommend wearing heels that you can just slide on. If you are able to learn in those, I've done both. I've done the kind that has the strap across the ankle, and then I've done the kind that you just slide into. And now, having done both, I could not recommend the kind that you slide into anymore, just because you can have them on for the least amount of time as possible. If not, before you get glued and glazed, you have to have your heels on, because you're not going to be able to bend over to do them unless you have somebody back there doing it for you, but it's unlikely.
Yeah. A lot of like weird little things that happen backstage.
Yeah.
That a lot of people are unprepared for. So we want to try to prepare y'all.
Yeah. I also made like a packing list. That was another thing that we did for going to a show.
That's a good one.
Which if any of y'all need it, you can hit us up.
Group.
Oh, it's in the Facebook
you can download
group.
it in the Muscle Building Secrets or Muscle Building University Facebook group. It's in the files and it's like your Bodybuilding Show Day Checklist. So it's like bring extra black sheets,
bring Clorox wipes,
baggy ass clothes that you don't care about getting
black clothes.
Yeah, pretty much everything you need.
Bring extra everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, show day is an amazing experience. That's when you get to celebrate all the glitter and glam of all the hard ass work you did and all the times you cried.
It is the best day, especially if you go to a good show, you'll make a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super excited to be going to a show next week.
Yeah, me too.